They stood before the benches with blood still on their hands. The charge was dropped to nothing before the gavel ever swung. The judge gave what the deal said, not what the damage weighed. Every victim left behind, every family pays the toll. We don't pull this out for nothing. We don't say these words for show. We pull it out when something happens that the whole world needs to know. Light sentences, dark crimes, the number never matches the damage done. Minimal time for maximum damage, and the victim got the rest. And the courtroom called it justice. We don't. It doesn't matter who you are, the young, the old, the broken. When the predator gets off easy, every victim's left unspoken. The system wrote a number, then it turned and looked away. But we are still here watching, and we got something to say. We don't pull this out for nothing. We don't say these words for show. We pull it out when something happens that the whole world needs to know. Light sentences, dark crimes, the number never matches the damage done. Minimal time for maximum damage, and the victim got the rest. And the courtroom called it justice. We don't. They carried what the courtroom left them. Grief that no sentence ever touched. A number on a paper that was never enough. The system made its deal in darkness, traded justice for convenience, left the broken ones to wonder if their pain had any meaning. But we are not done talking, we are not done saying names. We will be here every time they call this justice, every single time the damage goes unpaid. We will not be silent, we will not be silent. Light sentences, dark crimes, the number never matches the damage done. They got a fraction of what justice demanded, while victims carry all the weight. And the courtroom called it justice. We don't. We don't. We don't. We don't. We don't. The gavel fell, but justice didn't. The gavel fell, but justice didn't. The gavel fell, but justice didn't.
Live on the air, Trial Junkies United presents Justice After Dark with your host, Z.
Thank you, Doc. Hey, Katrina. Irish was here first. Our two mods. We have Billy and Pammy. And welcome to all the lurkers out there as you slowly join us. It's going to be a fun night. So let's just get started, because this is greetings to all of our trial junkies, our truth seekers, and our justice warriors. And there's Semi, and another one of our awesome mods. And I'm Z, your storyteller in the wilderness of injustice with my ride or die Doc riding shotgun. But Doc, we're going to do something a little different tonight, aren't we?
Yeah, I'd say so.
And hey, Ken and Sapphire Rose just joined us. Welcome, welcome. So we had a guest who was going to come on tonight, but hey, life gets in the way. So we're going to reschedule it for later in the month of July, probably. So it's important that when we get that, because her story is really important. Yes, Billy.
I see Phallus. Calm down, calm down.
Falla, yay, Falla's here, everybody. So we're going to reschedule her time to come on. So this is a segment we're calling This is Light Sentences and Dark Crimes. We pull it out when a sentence comes down that demands we say something. When the crime was dark and what they got was light. When the number doesn't match the damage. When the victim deserved more and the perpetrator got less. Tonight we're all going to have some questions. And I have some questions because we're not just going to cover just one case. We're going to kind of cover a pattern of cases in different areas. But before we get to tonight's case, I want to talk about her. You know her. Whoops. Where did that come from, Doc? There she is. Lady Justice. You've seen her outside the courtrooms, on law school walls, stamped into the seals of justice systems around the world. Lady Justice, the woman with the blindfold, the scales, and the sword. And she's not just a decoration. Every one of those three things means something. Tonight, I need you all to understand what they mean, because tonight we're going to watch all three of them fail miserably. The blindfold is supposed to mean impartiality, no favor to the powerful, no preference for the wealthy, justice administered without looking at who you are and what you have or what you can afford. But when a judge looks at a man who assaulted a child and sees a good family and a bright future, that blindfold slips. Hey, therapist, welcome, welcome. It doesn't just cover the defendant's face, it's covering the victim's. The symbols become inverted, and we've seen it in case after case. Brock Turner, Robert Richards IV, and tonight we're going to add some more names to that list. Now, those two are older cases, and you might say, well, who was that? Okay, fair point. Let's start going back to January 2015, Stanford University. There was a swimmer. His name was Brock Allen Turner, and he SA'd an unconscious 22-year-old woman behind a dumpster at a fraternity party. Isn't he a dreamboat?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Two graduate students on bicycles witnessed the assault and stopped him. And they held him until the police arrived. Kudos to those.
Yeah, hooray for
students. Them. In 2016, a jury convicted him on all three felony counts of SA. The numbers tell the story. Maximum exposure was 14 years he should have got, right? The prosecutors only asked for 6 in a state prison. But what did he get? Wait for it.
Mm-hmm.
He got 6 months in county jail, not state prison. What he served? Only 3 months. He was released for good behavior.
Good behavior.
Yeah.
Where was the good behavior behind the dumpster?
Exactly. Superior Court Judge Aaron Persky sentenced Turner in June 2016 following the county probation department's recommendation. He cited Turner's age, his lack of prior criminal record, and the impact incarceration would have on his future.
Woohoo, OnlyFans is here.
Let's worry about his future. Now,
yeah.
This right here is Dale Turner. This was his father. He submitted a letter to the court, and y'all going to get mad over this. And I'm going to see some outrage. He described the assault as just 20 minutes of action. Why should he have a severe sentence over 20 minutes of action? Yeah.
First of all, it wasn't severe.
Yeah,
It wasn't a severe sentence at all.
exactly. Now, the in the court records, his survivor was known as Emily Doe, and her impact statement was read aloud in court, and it went viral. It actually got entered into the congressional record and changed how millions of people understand what sentencing's failure looks like. In her own words, the legal process felt like a game of strategy, as if you could be tricked out of your own worth.
Hmm.
And let me see here. No, okay. Somehow a couple of the pictures. This is the judge. And the months before he got a recall election, this is Judge Aaron Persky. He gave an interview in which he actually said he had no regrets and would handle the case the same way today. He called himself the most hated man on the internet and described the recall effort as fundamentally unfair, arguing that it reduced a complicated criminal case to inflammatory Twitter hashtags. Yeah. He became emotional while defending himself, and he removed the house numbers from his front door after his address was published online. Some former friends told him they were voting to recall him. His argument, recalling judges over unpopular rulings threatens judicial independence, that judges must follow the rule of law, not the rule of public opinion. But the voters of Santa Clara County had a different viewpoint, and in June 2018, he was recalled by 61.51% of the vote. And that was the first California judge in California history of over 80 years of being in a recall campaign. 80 years. And it was led by Stanford law professor Michelle Dauber, a friend of the victim who was present at the sentencing. She raised $1.2 million. It drew national attention as the start before the Me Too movement, influence on public accountability. In September of 2019, the former judge was hired as a junior varsity girls tennis coach at San Jose High School. He was fired the next day.
Well, yeah.
After immediate outrage from parents and students.
Hmm.
Can you imagine a girls' high school? And they were going to let this dork be the coach? So he now lives quietly and privately in San Francisco Bay Area with no public facing roles. But you might wonder where Turner is. Well, let's see. He's in Daytona, Ohio, where he goes by his middle name, Alan. Alan, we're going to get you out there. Following his felony conviction, he is required to register as a Tier 3 sex offender for life, the highest classification, thank goodness. Nearly a decade later, there are still communities on TikTok and Reddit that continue to circulate his location and information, and the Ohio people have never let him quietly disappear. The bottom line is a judge looked at 3 felony convictions, a prosecutor asking for 6 years, maximum exposure of 14 that he could have gotten, and he gave this man 3 months in just a jail, a county jail, not prison.
To be correct, 6 months. He only served 3.
Yeah,
right? I mean, you know,
exactly.
and you look at that situation. His father writing that letter. Is where do you suppose the son got his attitude from?
Oh, definitely.
You know, I mean, because Dad certainly didn't sound like he was an upstanding guy either.
No. Oni fan, give him the 20 minutes of action. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. You know, and for the judge to say that he would have done it again, the survivor's words had to go viral and reach Congress before the system faced any consequences at all. But this shows that judges can receive consequences. The judge lost his seat, then lost a coaching job at a high school one day after getting it. Turner lost nothing he couldn't survive. The survivor behind that dumpster lost something she'll never get back.
Mhm.
And that's something to think about. And then the other person that was mentioned was Robert Richard IV. Yeah. And he is actually a DuPont fortune heir from Delaware. Now, in 2008, he pleaded guilty to SAing his 3-year-old daughter.
Oh my.
He was originally indicted on 2 counts of second degree, the hard R, each carrying up to 10 years in prison. A plea deal reduced the charge to 4th degree hard R, which still carried up to 15 years. Okay, not the best, but we're thinking 15 years for this douche.
Mm-hmm.
And then Judge Jan Jordan sentenced him to 8 years suspended entirely. No prison time, probation. Her written sentencing order stated that Richards will not fare well in prison and that treatment was more appropriate than incarceration.
Okay, I don't help please someone help me understand why a judge would hand down a verdict of 8 years and suspend the whole 8 years. I mean, that's like
because
you didn't give him anything.
He was a DuPont heir. The DuPonts are very wealthy and well known. It was his position.
Somebody needs to do some investigative reporting on this judge.
Yeah. Well, what the court record shows, Richard never served a single day in jail. He was admitted to treatment facilities, placed on the sex offender registry, but he's remained free in his 5,800 square foot mansion. The prosecutor at sentencing recommended probation, and years later, the Attorney General's office admitted they wish she hadn't. Richards later admitted to abusing his toddler son as well, abuse that began when the boy was just 19 months old. He had previously worked as a camp counselor, so now there are concerns about additional victims, and he's never paid a single penny to his children for what he did to them. The judge's reasoning was called out by criminal justice experts as logic typically reserved for drug offenders, not child SAers. As Delaware's public defender noted, prisons exist to punish and to protect society. Jordan appeared to sidestep both functions entirely. The case didn't even become public until 2014 when his ex-wife, Tracy, filed a civil lawsuit seeking damages for both of the children because her mother was the one who first learned of the abuse after speaking with one of the grandchildren in 2007 and sounded the alarm. 2 women, not the courts, not the prosecution, forced whatever accountability existed. And this judge, Jan Jordan, she just announced in 1925 that she was stepping down from the bench. So she stayed after she made this call on the bench for 17 years after letting that child creeper walk. A sitting judge looked at a man who hard-r'd a 3-year-old and decided the man's comfort mattered more than justice and sent him home.
Mm-hmm. Semi-sharp. That is that probably you have to wonder about that.
I agree, Semi.
Yeah.
That's what shocked me when I saw it was a woman judge also.
Mm-hmm.
It said the children faced a future of counseling costs, trauma, and no financial support from their abuser. Richards faced a future in his mansion. This is what it looks like when wealth and privilege walks into a courtroom. You know? So the scales are supposed to represent balance, but both sides placed them. Both sides weighed. But for those scales to balance, both sides have to actually be placed on them. And it seems like crimes against children and women are historically undercharged, under-prosecuted, and under-sentenced. And that's not an accident. It's a legacy.
Mhm.
Those laws were written when women and children were actually legally considered property, not persons with full standing.
I got a thought here
Okay, give it
that
to me.
I'm just wondering, are there any states that do, like, if they find somebody guilty, that the jury actually hands down the sentence? Is there any state
Yeah.
that does that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there are states that do that.
Because I would think that would get rid of some of the payoffs. I mean,
Yeah.
to some degree. I mean, what would a judge have to do then? Call it a mistrial or something? Yeah, for some reason, I don't
Well,
know.
I don't, if it had got to them actually doing that, I think in some areas he probably could try and say that the sentence was severe, but it would be harder to do. Katrina, can you check me on that?
That is, she said that it isn't Texas.
Yeah, in Texas they can do it. Florida, in some cases, I think that, yeah, I mean, because they've given the death penalty in Florida, and it was up to the jury. So, but I think in some cases can't. I'm not sure, but a judge can, if he thinks the sentence is too severe. Are there some states that allow him to do something? They just did it for the track meet. Okay, yeah. Okay, for the Carlo case. Okay. Yeah, so that can happen. But I think it's harder to do than when you have these cases where the judge is handing down the sentence.
Okay.
But, credibility assessments still disproportionately harm child witnesses and SA survivors. Sentencing guidelines in many jurisdictions treat crimes of domestic violence and sexual abuse as lower tier than comparable to stranger violence. And the relationship between the victim and the offender often reduces a sentence rather than increases it. So the scales aren't broken. They're being loaded before the weighing starts. And the sword represents enforcement. Swift, visible, final. But enforcement follows priorities. Hey, Farquaad, good to see you.
Oh yeah.
And priorities follow politics. Drug sentencing gets the sword. White-collar crime negotiates. And crimes against the most vulnerable, children in trafficking pipelines, women that are deleted by an intimate partner, indigenous women who disappear, they get a sword that's been put back in the sheath before the trial even begins. So, what do we gain from knowing this? A symbol isn't a lie. It's a promise that hasn't been kept. And the distinction matters, you guys, because it gives us language for the fight. Lady Justice holds the scales, and we're the ones who keep count of what keeps getting left off of them. So, Doc, you ready to check into what the courts have been up to lately?
Yeah. It can't. I don't know. I was just gonna say it can't be any worse, but hey,
yeah, don't go there. I know we went to cases back in 2008 and 2014, but yeah. Okay,
yeah.
let's get into it.
We're saying, oh, it only gets worse
In some instances.
Okay.
Now we talked about this case briefly on another show, Misty Roberts. It was a birthday party in Dorado, Louisiana. She was hosting the birthday party for one of her children, a 16-year-old boy and a grown woman, a position of public power because she was the mayor of Dorado, Louisiana. She was the sitting mayor of that town when she deliberately had a sexual encounter with a 16-year-old boy. Her own son and other children saw her. Think about that. Other kids knew what happened to this young man at that party, that she came on to him. And of course, they say, oh, well, she was drunk. She wasn't in her right mind. A jury convicted her of 2 felony counts: cardinal knowledge of a juvenile and indecent behavior with a juvenile. She was facing up to 17 years in prison. And we're thinking, well, it should have been better, but okay, at least 17, right? This is Judge Kent Savoy. He gave her 90 days.
Why bother sentencing her?
And this is from his Facebook page that says, talks about him being the experience we deserve and the integrity we expect.
Uh-huh.
Louisiana, you might want to rethink this dude.
Mm-hmm.
Because he is not giving you an experience or any integrity as far as I'm concerned. She did this at her child's birthday party. 90 days in a parish jail. 2 5-year sentences suspended, a fine, probation, sex offender registry. Now, that's what a jury conviction gets you in Beauregard Parish if you're Misty Roberts. But, what can we say?
Right.
But Judge Savoy, he didn't pull the numbers out of thin air. No, he told reporters he used a benchmark. Hey, Hellcat, good to see you, darling. You ready for this benchmark?
Oh, yeah.
There was
you lay it on us. Lay it on us.
A list of 34 similar cases from Beauregard Parish over the past 15 years. He used that list to calibrate what Robert should receive. Now, 7 News got a public records request and got that list. And here's what every single one of those 34 cases had in common. Not one of them went to trial. 34 cases, 0 trials. 25 were carried suspended sentences. 12 defendants walked with 0 prison time. Several did less than 180 days in jail. And Judge Savoy used that list, a list built entirely on defendants who cut deals, who negotiated, who never made the state prove a single thing in front of a jury. To sentence a woman, a jury convicted. She had a jury trial after a full public trial. Trial junkies, I got questions. Because there is a legal concept, and therapists, you might like this, a legal concept for what should have happened here. It's called the trial tax. When you exercise your constitutional right to a jury trial and lose, you typically receive a harsher sentence than someone who takes a plea. The reasoning, it's straightforward. At trial, all the details come out. The judge hears everything. The community witnesses it all because they hear about it. So if what they hear is worse than what anyone anticipated, because they might hear the story and think, well, it's not as bad, but then they hear the details and they're like, oh my gosh, the sentence reflects that. Alex Bello, a state attorney at Loyola University, New Orleans College of Law, put it plainly. When a person decides to go to trial and loses, they get hit with something bigger than what was originally offered. Because during a trial, you learn more. You learn basically everything Misty Roberts went to trial. A jury heard her. Yeah, therapists, it can make you feel like you're getting punished for asserting your right to a fair trial. But that's when you roll the dice, especially if you get found guilty and you're also SAing 16-year-old boys. Oopsie daisies, she deserves it. Her victim's family sat through every single day of these proceedings. 4 family members gave impact statements. 4. The victim's oldest sister said, Roberts had a choice. She could have spared her own children from her own kids had to testify. But she chose not to do that. Those kids had to get on the stand because of her choice. And we respectfully ask the court to consider the impact the case has not only had on the victims, but the families. The court heard from the victim's mother. She opened her statement by setting the scene. She said, "A simple birthday party, a gathering of family and friends, the kind of night that should have ended in laughter and memories." And then she went on to say, "This predator was not hiding in a van carrying candy from a predator with, or carrying a candy or a puppy. This danger came from a predator with hair extension, high heels, Botox, and other modifications." I love that slam. And that's the mama. She also said the pain didn't end the night of the incident or the trial. She turned to Roberts and her attorney and said, "The attorneys you hired have claimed we put your kids on the stand. Oh no, Missy, that's you.
Yeah.
My heart broke for all those kids that we forced to relive that night. Your team flat out lied and was very disrespectful throughout this trial." His mother said her son lost half of his high school experience. He skipped his homecoming because he felt judged by looks, by whispers, by the national media attention. She said her son felt disgusted by what Misty had done to him. She said she couldn't be with her daughters when they gave birth because she had to be in court. She said her father had passed away during this trial, and she looked at Misty and she said, "Stay the heck away from my family." Only she didn't say heck.
Yeah.
You got the idea. And what did Misty Roberts say? She said she blamed herself for the rest of her life. She apologized. And then she said, "And I need you to hear this. God put me here to be a mom. I just want to cook dinner and be a mom." Well, at your child's birthday party, you shouldn't have been SAing somebody else's child.
And what she's going to remember this for the rest of her life, or 90 days, whichever comes first,
Yeah. The prosecution noted she never once said the victim's name. In her statement, her defense attorney argued that sex offender registry was punishment enough. He told the court it was relevant that the victim was only a couple of months away from turning 17. A couple of months? He was still a child. He asked the judge to suspend the sentence entirely, but Judge Savoy, that request should have told you everything. You needed to know about the defense's expectations. They expected what the plea deal defendants got, and you delivered it. The district attorney, Beauregard Parish James Lestage, said it directly. He says, "I don't think that sentence was imposed reflects the severity of the crimes. It doesn't, in my opinion, represent the values of Beauregard Parish. The DA who prosecuted this case is telling you the sentence was wrong." One DeRidder resident asked the question that hangs above all of us. Because she was an authority figure in a high position and she got slapped on the hand. He said, "What if I did that? I'd be getting maxed out no matter what, without a shadow of a doubt." He asked not to be named, and I understand why. And then someone in the community said something every child victim considering coming forward needs to hear. And this is the part that will keep us all up at night. They said, "We tell people, hey, come forward. If you're a child victim of abuse, then this is what happens when they do." And that's 100% why people don't come forward. I want you to think about that.
Yeah, because all they're going to get is 90 days.
That boy was strong enough to come forward.
Mm-hmm.
This was a married woman, and she had like 3 or 4 children. She was the mayor of the city, the first female elected. Hey, patriot. And this was how she acted, and then tries to say, "I'm just a mom that wants to cook for..." No. And Judge Kent Savoy, you used 34 plea deals to avoid a jury conviction. You cannot measure those two things against each other because it was like apples and oranges. Those were plea deals. None of those people went to a jury trial.
No.
All the disgusting details came out in that trial. but didn't come out in those plea deals. And yet you called it justice.
Now, when you did you look into how long the plea deals? You know, I mean, they obviously got some kind of sentence from the plea deal, but you know,
Yeah. Well, they ranged a lot of different, but this was the last 15 years too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some of these were really old cases.
So just you were talking about a history of
and that's what
not prosecuting.
Yeah, and that's what he used when he shouldn't have, because it had nothing to do with this case.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the legal standard is different. The evidentiary standard is different. The human cost to the family is different.
Mm-hmm.
That boy lost half of his high school experience. His mother, her father died. His grandfather died during the trial. And yet, this lowlife trollop will be out of jail before summer's over. Think about that.
Yep.
And the question I'm asking your courtroom and every courtroom watching, if a jury conviction gets you the same outcome as a plea deal, why would any predator ever fear a trial? Because he just gave her what most plea deals were. Those were all plea deals. Yeah. So the reason you get a stronger sentence with the jury trial is because you made them go through a jury trial. That costs money. So we see it, and we're saying it on this case. I mean, she's just, cannot stand that woman. Okay, we talked about Yvonne Missy Woods in Colorado before, but there's new information on Yvonne. This next case, the sentence hasn't been handed down yet to a predator. This involves a sentence that's going to be handed down to someone who was supposed to help put them away. We covered her story when we talked about DNA. She was a forensic DNA analysis for the Colorado Bureau of Investigation for 29 years, you guys. And for a significant portion of those years, she was quietly dismantling cases from the inside. She deleted DNA findings. She omitted results. She changed the quantities of DNA detected in sexual assault cases to make it appear there was less than what was actually found, so she could skip the analysis entirely and move faster. She would boost her numbers. At least 1,045 criminal cases were affected. And yet I also heard one attorney say that he has 2 clients that were on this list that are affected because of her. She was charged with 102 felonies: forgery, perjury, cybercrime, and attempting to influence a public servant. On June 23rd, 2026, with her hair dye all gone, she pleaded guilty to 4 counts. Now remember, I said she had over 100. She pled to 4. Prosecutors dropped 98 charges as part of the deal. The state is going to spend at least $11 million repairing what she broke. She faces only a maximum of 16 years. Trial Junkies, 1,045 cases, 29 years of deleted data, $11 million in projected repair costs. Sexual assault victims who have gone through getting a rape kit done, whose evidence was manipulated before anyone ever walked into a courtroom. Murder convictions overturned, and the ceiling is 16 years. And I have questions. I mean, of those 1,045 cases actually mean in human terms. Because of Yvonne Missy Woods, prosecutors in at least 3 Colorado deletion cases offered suspects lesser charges, lighter sentences, rather than risk taking those cases to trial with tainted evidence. People who might have been convicted have walked away with deals they never should have had. Victims who deserved their day in court got a negotiated outcome instead. There are sexual assault cases. An attorney with Corey Wise Innocent Project at CU Law said that some defendants whose cases Woods handled never even received notice from the DA that their cases were affected. So that figure they're giving isn't even correct. He said some of them just got lost. She pointed out that scientists simply do not delete their data, particularly when they are going to testify in court. Every deletion she did was a choice. Now, this is Michael Clark, and let's talk about Michael Clark. He was convicted of deletion in 1994, the killing of Marty Grissom in Boulder, Colorado. He spent 12 years in prison. Pammy, she did it because she wanted to cover more cases, and she became known as the predominant DNA expert in the area. And so that was why she did it. She just cut corners. He was released in April of 2025 after questions arose about the DNA evidence in his case, evidence that she had handled. Prosecutors are now trying to retry him, but his defense has filed a 72-page motion to dismiss the retrial entirely because they called the reprosecution and I want you to hear this phrase, a moral obscenity. 32 years later, evidence lost or destroyed, witnesses deceased, and a man who's already served 12 years is being pulled back into a courtroom because the analyst who handled this case spent decades making choices she never should have made. And then you also have to look at the other side, and that's the tail end of what she has set in motion. Tamara Hardney's father was deleted in 1985. So when the Woods scandal broke, she agreed to let prosecutors offer a plea deal to her father's killer rather than risk the taint undermining the case at trial. She said she does not deserve a plea. However, I understand why they want to give her one. She affected so many people. The CBI released a statement saying Woods acted alone and that her crimes were not reflective of the Bureau's institutional practices or missions. Defense attorneys and critics have pushed back hard on that framing, and I think every victim whose case she touched has the right to push back. Let's hope, nobody got the DP. I don't think Colorado has that. Can someone check for me? Off the top of my head, I don't remember Colorado being one of those states. But the integrity of a criminal case depends on the integrity of every person who touches the evidence. And that's why when we watch trials, we see people, the attorneys go after those guys, that are the experts. And when that chain breaks, it doesn't just break on one case. It breaks on all of them. It breaks the conviction. It breaks the acquittal. It breaks the victim who testified. It breaks the defendant who might have been innocent, and it breaks everyone who trusted that the number on that lab report meant something. 16 years is the ceiling. Missy Woods is going to be sentenced on September 8th, so we're going to be watching. I'm going to watch that case because she better get something. The next case, this one's a heartbreaker, you guys. Michaela Renee Settles. She was 18. She had moved from Raleigh, North Carolina to California for a fresh start, a chance at college and a new life. She moved in with her biological father, Stephen Vincent Chavez. Thanks, Irish. Okay, the death penalty was abolished in 2020 in Colorado. Okay, I didn't think they were one of the states that had it. So 2 days after Michaela arrived, her mother got a phone call. It was just the fear in her voice, her crying. I didn't need details. I knew something was wrong. Michaela was hospitalized. There was a rape kit confirmed. Chavez's DNA, her biological father. He was arrested and charged with felony incest. taking advantage of a position of trust and providing alcohol to a minor. Not the hard R charges. No. The night of his arrest, he sent Michaela's mother a text message that said, "I'm never drinking liquor again. I don't want that blackout to happen again." So, see, he sent a text starting his story.
No, well, of course.
You know. Now, this next picture is a little tough to see. It's a picture of Michaela in the hospital later. And she's with her family. Or, oh no, that's her dad. Ugh. I'm just going to call him Scud's Bucket. That's the Scud's Bucket. But this is the one when Michaela was in the hospital and her mom and I think sister were doing her hair. Because 5 months later, Michaela attempted to delete herself. And this guy pleaded guilty. Prosecutors asked for the maximum because they weren't going for the hard R. Remember, it was an incest charge. 3 years in state prison. They argued he exploited his position as her father, and he doesn't even deserve that title. He violated his daughter's trust, supplied her with alcohol, and then he hard R'd her. You know, that's what happened. He actually sexually assaulted his daughter. Then the judge, oh, you know there's a judge. This is Judge Dusty Kawhi, gave him 1 year in county jail.
Jeez.
Stephen Vincent Chavez, 41, was sentenced to 1 year in Ventura County Jail. No state prison. Registered as a sex offender for only 20 years after he pleaded guilty to incest and providing alcohol to an 18-year-old, because he had no previous record. That's what the judge said. He had no previous criminal records. Well, he sure started with a bang. Michaela's mother said what I'm thinking. Based on the charges, the most that he can get is 3 years. But he got a year. He's 40. In 20 years, this is going to all go away. He'll be off the registry in 20 years. He'll be 60 years old.
Old creeper.
And unfortunately, Michaela did end up deleting herself because she couldn't handle what happened to her. So with Tuesday's ruling, it's already going away faster than what Judge Dusty Kawhi. And we heard him. No prior criminal record was the only thing that kept you from giving him 3. And that gives me questions. Yes, Semi, you're right. And what it means for the first entry on a man's criminal record is that he violates his own daughter and that gets weighed in his favor at sentencing. 10 prosecutors have reviewed this case to determine whether hard R charges could be filed. After all that work, after all those interviews, all the forensic testing and medical evaluations and electronic evidence, the only felony that was charged under the law was incest. That was the system's ceiling. And then the court went below it. And this girl was beautiful. She was, her cousin Crystal said, when none of us could find the words, she said it was like he took her sunshine away and just kind of broke her soul.
Yeah, I can see how she would feel that way.
And that poor child couldn't survive it. Whoops. Okay. And so Michaela Renee Settles deserves more than 1 year of her father's time. With jail crowding, think about it. How long will he actually be in there? Will it be like that Brock Turner, where he was supposed to be in there for 6 months and he got out in 3?
Yeah.
This guy's
he'll
supposed to
probably
be in there
be out
a year.
in 6 months.
Yeah. So they'll probably let him out on good behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just another case that it was like, Judge, what were you thinking? Now, this one's different. This case doesn't end actually with a light sentence. It ends with, it's a crazy story. So let's get to it. This is Carl Cacconie, I think. I'm just going to call it Cockroach because it fits better. He was convicted by an El Dorado County jury of 6 counts of lewd and lascivious acts on a child. His victim was 11 when the abuse happened. She testified at trial. The jury believed her guilty on 6 counts. Now, the judge, Michael McLaughlin, because the guy was on bail, before the trial. So at the trial, he gets all guilty on 6 charges, right? This judge let him walk out of the courthouse, not to a holding facility, not to process, out the door. He was told to return in a month for sentencing, where he faced up to 18 years.
Oh, my goodness sakes.
The judge said, well, he showed up for all of his other hearings.
Yeah, but you're oh, goodness sakes. But you're on the verge of possibly, I mean, he has the possibility of going away for 18 years or taking a hike. I mean,
yeah,
he was
guilty of being a sex offender of a child. They don't do well in prison. They're not popular in a good way.
No.
So if he's facing 18 years of what he knows could happen to him, now the prosecutor asked the judge to remand him immediately. The request was denied. So Cockroach, who had $1 million bond, surrendered his passport and an ankle monitor, had an ankle monitor put on, and a week before his sentencing date, the ankle monitor in San Francisco disconnected. Oops.
Oh, wow. That was unfortunate.
It took 2 days for anyone for the probation department to even contact him. After it went bleep, he reported that he was charging his ankle bracelet.
Mm.
And then they never reached him again. On sentencing day, his family reported him missing and produced a note of self-deletion. 2 retired Superior Court judges told KCRA they were appalled. One said it was clear that this man was a danger to society and that he should have been remanded immediately. Another called it very poor judgment. His victim said it plainly. She said, I blame the judge. She said something else I want you to hear. She said, this is an 11-year-old child. I felt like the justice system let us down, and it hurts. That little girl who was brave enough to testify against Cockroach, whose mother laid awake probably every night afraid he might come for them, spent nearly 10 months not knowing where he was. Good news, the FBI caught him. June 13th, 2026, Scottsdale, Arizona, hiding in an Airbnb. They found he had a weapon that you can put ammunition in, so you know what kind of weapon that is. Mm-hmm. And then he also had a bunch of those other kind of weapons that have pointy ends, so you know what they are. He faked his death. He ran, he hid, and he was found. His victim said, I knew it. I knew deep down he did not delete himself. She's been updating her victim impact statement. She plans to read it when he is finally sentenced. And Judge Michael McLaughlin, a jury unanimously convicted him of crimes against a child. Your prosecutor told you to remand him on the spot. You said no and he ran. A family lived in fear for 10 months. A little girl who had already testified once had to wait nearly a year longer to see consequences reach someone who hurt her. This is on the record, and we're saying it. And he better get something for running, too. That should add something to whatever the 18 years he was looking at.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
An extra 3 months in his case.
Probably. Okay, this case we're going to the UK because, over in the UK, they also have some issues with some lowlifes. This one, we're going to cross the ocean, go across the pond, and then still demands to be said. Fordingbridge is a small town in Hampshire, England. And I'm probably saying it wrong. Irish can let me know. In November 2024, a 15-year-old girl traveled to meet a boy she had connected with on Snapchat. Silly, but a lot of kids do it. She thought he was her boyfriend. When she arrived to Hampshire. Thank you, darling. When she arrived, 2 more boys appeared. She told police she felt cornered and trapped and that she feared being thrown into the river running alongside the underpass where they attacked her. The boys hard-R'd her for an hour and a half. They filmed it. They laughed while they did it, and they walked her to a bus stop afterward and offered to buy her a drink to cheer her up. Then they blocked her on social media. Then they shared the footage online. Then she started receiving messages calling her a slag, which in the UK is not a nice term. It's derogatory. 2 months later, in January 2025, a 14-year-old girl in the same town was threatened with a pointing object weapon. You know what I'm talking about. Her leggings were cut with what forensic evidence described as a sharp instrument. She was hard-R'd repeatedly while another boy filmed it and shouted encouragement. Video footage in court showed her lying motionless on the ground with her face buried in her hands. The boys were tried and convicted. They received 10 hard-R convictions between them. The 2 older boys had served less than a month in youth detention combined between their arrests and the trial. Judge Nicholas Rowland sentenced them to youth rehabilitation orders. 2 older boys, 15, received 3-year orders with 180 days of intensive supervision. The youngest of 14 received an 18-month order. All 3 received a 3-month curfew and a 10-year restraining order barring contact with their victim. They walked out of court.
A restraining order.
Yeah. They were able to walk out of court. Before he sentenced them, Judge Rowland spoke directly to the victims. He said, "The sentence I'm about to pass cannot undo what has happened to you. I hope when you look back, you'll at least take some comfort that both of you have shown great courage." And then he told the boys, "I should avoid unnecessarily criminalizing these children, understand the effects of their behavior, and support their reintegration into society. None of you needs to go to prison today." He said peer pressure played a large part. 2 of the boys' mothers burst into tears as the sentence was read out. I want to make sure you understood what happened. The judge looked at those little girls, acknowledged his sentence, could not undo what had happened to them, and then he handed it down anyway. During the sentence, one of the victims spoke from behind a screen, and she said, "No one deserves the trauma of being hard-R'd. I will never get my innocence back." She also wrote a poem directed at her attackers. One line read, "All I want to do is die. I no longer have fear for when that comes." That is what his sentence left behind. The other victim in her impact statement said, "Sometimes I can still feel their hands on me. I feel ashamed, insecure, and uncomfortable in my own body. The person I was before is completely gone." One of the victims told the BBC exactly what that sentence felt like. "It hit like a rock straight in my face." He almost made it seem as if what the boys did was not okay, but it was okay in the eyes of the law because they were still children. She asked the question we are all asking: what was the point of putting me through this? Yeah. Her mother looked toward the prime minister and said, if it were your daughter, your niece, your nephew, your family member, what would you be happy with? Of course, now we know this dude has resigned, but I applaud the mother for doing it. The Crown Prosecution Service has warned that sexual assaults and hard R's involving young people are on the increase. Senior prosecutor Yvonne Blake said there is a real part for all of us to play as citizens to make sure that we have really clear conversations with our teens about these attitudes and push back really hard on them. The Attorney General of England received multiple requests to review the sentences. Prime Minister Starmer called the case appalling. The sentences have now been referred to the Court of Appeal. But here's what you need to understand, because this isn't just one case. Yeah, you're right, Irish. It's a heavy on rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
He was a human rights lawyer. Ugh. But here's what we have to understand is because this is not just one case. The Guardian has now reported on 3 additional cases, 3 more boys, 3 more girls as young as 14. 3 more convictions for hard R and serious sexual assaults from courts in Northeast England. The sentences, youth rehabilitation orders, court fees paid, £26, British pounds, less than a parking ticket. In one of the cases, a boy avoided custody after being found guilty of 3 separate attacks, including a hard R. 3 attacks, 3 different girls, a hard R. Isabel Owens, head of the Hard R and Sexual Abuse Counseling Center covering Darlington and County Durham, said this: it takes incredible bravery for a survivor of sexual violence to report what has happened to them. The survivors who've experienced these outcomes say they feel hopeless and worried for other young people who might fall victim to the crimes of individuals who are not being held meaningfully accountable. They are rightly questioning whether reporting to the police and enduring the process is even worth it. One of the victims from Northeast England, who's 16 now, said, "This isn't a deterrent for anyone. Boys thinks they can do what they want, so they make bad choices and take bad actions." Leonie Hodge from the campaign group Justice Is Now said the part no one in power seems willing to say out loud. Teenagers that are hard R'ing other teenagers should not become a socially accepted norm. We fear it is. French survivor Giselle Petticoat, who sat in a courtroom for months to make the world see what had happened to her, said she was shocked that these boys gain their freedom while their victims are suffering so hard they will never be able to heal. Hey, Paula, good to see you, sweetie. She said, the hard R is a crime. Justice has an essential role to name the crimes, to recognize the suffering of the victims, and to make sure they do not remain unpunished. Of course, there is a petition going on. They want an investigation into the judge, and they are trying to get him out of office.
Well, that was my thought too. Is that did he give an interview as to why he and an explanation as to why he gave the sentence that he gave?
Just he didn't want to criminalize those young boys. That was it.
That's it?
That was his answer. Yeah, that was his answer. Yes, Queen Giselle, she's awesome. But these were little girls. These were little girls. And the fact that he even spoke to them and said they should be proud of them. Well, you shouldn't be proud of yourself, Judge. Judge Nicholas Rowland, no. You didn't want to criminalize these children. They want to investigate him now, and they're signing petitions over there.
Yeah.
And I want you to hear what criminalizing these girls looks like.
Well, yeah, because they're the girls' lives are ruined, you know. I mean,
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Any child that is sexually assaulted by anybody, whether it's someone their age or an adult, you have given them a life sentence.
Yeah, that is not something that they just get over.
No. You know, and like we said, the one girl wrote a poem. She no longer fears dying. The other says the person she was before is completely gone. These are living sentences every day. And the boys who handed it to them, they're not even in custody. So we'll keep checking the Court of Appeals. We'll be back with what they decide. And let's hope this doofus has the sense to resign.
Yeah.
'Cause it's
Simmy,
time-
I can't disagree with that. I mean,
yeah. It's time this old geezer got put out to pasture.
mhm.
I'm sorry. He needs to go. But not every story tonight was a light sentence. Now, this is Brandon Lee Roberts. And you might think, oh, well, we talked about a Misty Roberts. Well, guess what? This is her brother. Yes, same family, same Beauregard Parish. He was in
Mhm.
court too. And guess what he was in court for? Child sex abuse charges. After investigations said he abused a teenage girl for 3 years, beginning when she was 13 years old. Now, District Judge John C. Hunter of Louisiana 14th Judicial District Court sentenced him to 32 years in prison. That was the plea deal. Consecutive. Local judges in the 36th Judicial District recused themselves, where he actually lives. So a different judge was brought in. And that judge gave him 32 years. Same parish, same family, same type of crime against children. Judge Savoy gave Misty 90 days in jail, not prison. Judge Hunter gave Brandon Lee Roberts 32 years, and I'll let that sit right there.
Mhm.
That's what accountability looks like. And that's what the absence of it looks like, standing right next to each other. We say it when it's wrong, and we say it when it's right. So we're going to sit with that moment, and then we're going to move on to our missing people. Yeah, something's wrong with that bloodline. I totally agree.
Mhm.
I totally agree, Simmy.
Got
There's
some
something-
damaged DNA in that family.
Yeah. And she just wants to be a mom. I wouldn't let her around my kids. I mean, I hope her husband's taking some precautions. But our missing people, stay alert, put those cell phones down. You might save a life. When you're out there, remember faces. And some people leave on their own, and then they get in a place where it's not safe. They are not allowed to come home. And we know trafficking's real. So if a victim passes you, and you notice something, trust those instincts. That person you pass could be someone's missing family member. And, don't wait for someone else or assume someone else is going to call. Go ahead and call. If you're not comfortable with calling the police, tips, the number 4, trialjunkiesunited@gmail.com. We'll make sure it gets where it needs to go. And if you have someone that's an Indigenous person that's missing, or if you have a family member that's not Indigenous, just a family member you want us to highlight on one of the shows, go ahead and send it to us. This is Anita Brown. She's 62. She went missing June 24th of 2026 around 12 p.m. She's missing from Calumet Boulevard in Salmon Avenue, Calumet, Del Norte County, California. She's from the Coyote Valley federally recognized Poma Nation, Mendocino County, California. She's 5'2", weighs 190 pounds. She has gray hair, brown eyes, last seen wearing brown and teal Native American jacket. She had gray pants on and slippers. They think she's traveling on foot. They actually did, for once, get Night Billy. They got out Feather Alert, which is active in Del Norte and Humboldt counties. The California Highway Patrol is the one that activated it. The Yurok Tribal Police and the CHP notified were on June 27th. So 3 days after she went missing before they were notified. If you see her, call 911. She's been missing for quite a few days now. The terrain is steep, remote, and unforgiving. We have that gap in there from when she disappeared and the feather alert went out. And while I was looking at her case, I found that there was also another young person missing from the same area. And so we're going to go ahead and do that. And that would be, let me see here. And another thing to remember is she's an elder in her community. So we worry about the elders. Now, this young man is Brandy One. His nickname is Brandon Salazar. He's 23. He went missing on March 22nd, 2026, around 2 a.m. from Calumet del Norte County, California. He's Iroquois, enrolled citizen of the Palaka tribe of Iroquois people. And I know I said that wrong, and I apologize to them immensely. He's 5'7" and he weighs 145 pounds. He has brown hair and brown eyes. He was last seen wearing a white t-shirt, black joggers, white Nike shoes. Identifying features: he has tattoos on his forearms and elbows and near his wrist. He has a traditional tribal friendship design, and he has a small gap between his front teeth. The feather alert was also activated for him on March 23rd by the California Highway Patrol. Now they're offering a $10,000 reward for Brandon because, there's been no response. There's been no public outcry for this young man being missing. So the Iroquois Tribal Police at 707-237-5702. He had been staying with his mom in Calumet in the days before his disappearance. He was last seen around 2 a.m. near the county club bar and grill in Calumet as it was closing. They said there was an altercation and Brandon ran. A Iroquois tribal public safety officer witnessed him jump a fence. His sweatshirt caught on it. The officer retrieved the sweatshirt into evidence. And at 2:20, Brandon sent a final text to a friend asking for a pickup near the Calumet River boat launch. The friend arrived. Brandon wasn't there. His phone pinged near the river at the same time as the text, and it's not pinged since. So the tribe has searched the river using boats and underwater drones with sonar, and nothing's been found. Brandon, by his family's account, is afraid of water, so he wouldn't have deliberately gone into the water. The tribe has put up the $10,000, and they're searching by, like I said, boats and drones. So they said, our tribe is very, very small. We need coordination. We need to get the word out. 3 months later, this 23-year-old young man is still missing. So let's hopefully they can bring him home. Now, this is Ashai Stewart. I think that's how you say it. I may be saying that wrong also. She's 15. Ashaya. She went missing June 27th, so that was yesterday, around 8 p.m. She's missing from West Meadowline Avenue in Kennewick, Washington. She is 5'9", 120 pounds, has beautiful blue hair. Her hair is normally black. She's got blue in this photo. She has brown eyes. And they actually also did send a missing Indigenous person alert. Yay. I love when we hear that alerts are being sent. The case number is 26-044001. So the Highway State Patrol did activate it. Contact the Kennewick Police Department's non-emergency number at 509-628-0333 or call 911. I'm sorry. If it's a missing person, call 911. Because let's get this poor young girl found. She needs to come home. She's young. Now, this is Joycelia
Ann Leiden.
Whoa. All those L's in there just threw me for a moment. Like, a lot of L's in that name. She's 17. She's been missing since May 30th from Phoenix, Arizona. She has brown hair, brown eyes. The NCMEC number is 2090216. She also has an NCIC number of M as in Michael, 158943581. Contact Phoenix PD at 602-262-6151 or NECMEC at 1-800-843-5678. Now, she has disappeared before, but she came home. and that was back in November. So this is a whole new case, and she's actually missing from a different location. So let's help bring her back home. She might be having a difficult time, and she just needs to be with her family. Now, this is Kemimila American Horse. She's 17. This is the only picture I found of her. She's been missing since June 26th. So just a couple of days in Bismarck, North Dakota. She's 5'9", weighs 200 pounds. She has black hair and brown eyes. The Bismarck police are looking for her, 701-223-1212. Kemilia is a Lakota word meaning butterfly. Her surname, American Horse, is actually a distinguished Lakota name carried by the historical figures, including Chief American Horse of the Ogallala Lakota. But she's not a statistic. She's someone's daughter. She's carrying her nation's language in her own name. So let's help bring her home, because she's only 17 years old, poor little thing. This is Tyler Robert Johnson. He's 38. He's been missing since June 18th from Prince George, British Columbia, Canada. They said he frequents the downtown area, Ferry Avenue, Highway 16, Highway of Tears, people. He is 5'8", weighs 130 pounds, has brown hair and a full beard and mustache. He has Prince George RCMP 250-561-3300 or the Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. So let's hope it's not another Highway of Tears. I don't want to see that happen. Thank you. This is what we got. This is what was decided. This is what our system calls justice. We call it something else. If any of these cases stayed with you tonight, good. Let them. Talk about them. Share this segment. Say the names of what happened out loud, because silence is how these numbers keep getting handed down, or these sentences keep getting handed down without consequences. We saw one judge get recalled. So things can happen when you don't see proper sentencing, because as a community, we're counting on judges to protect the rest of us from these criminals. So to every survivor in every one of these cases, we see you, we believe you, and we're not done talking about this. Yes, Moo. Light sentences only survive in the dark. We don't do dark here. This has been Light Sentences, Dark Crimes. We'll be back when we have to be. Until then, remember, every killer and every predator depends on your silence, you guys. Don't give it to them. If you know something, say something. Speak up. And remember, it wasn't a mannequin. It never is. And our motto is silence is betrayal. Until next time, stay informed, stay compassionate, keep seeking truth, keep demanding justice, and never stop speaking up. And Doc, do you want to say goodnight?
Say goodnight.
Yeah, Moo's over here bumping my hand. She's like, I'm ready, Mama. Thank you, Pammy. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Sometimes these are the kind of fun to do, these kind of episodes where we can chit chat with you guys a little bit more. And I created another song at the end, of course. So enjoy it. And remember, the criminals never stop. Neither do we. So until next time, you keep fighting for justice. And we'll see you. Let's see, what is tonight?
We'll see him Thursday night.
It's Sunday. Thursday night. I forgot what night of the week it was. Oh, Lord. That's bad. Come here, Moo. Want to say hi to everybody? Here, we'll get Moo up here. She's like, Mom, I don't want to be on TV. There you go. Say hi, Moo. Say hi, everybody. There's a Moo sighting. She's like, let me go. Well, we got a Moo sighting. So good night, everybody. We love you. Ciao, and have a good evening. And I hit a button.
They sit behind the bench with power in their hands. The law is clear, the damage done, and the jury took a stand. But somewhere in that courtroom, a deal gets in the way. Prosecutors, step up now, you got something left to say. The victims are in that courtroom too, don't bargain them away. You have the power, use it, you have the gavel. Swing it, don't hand this off to parole boards when justice is yours to give. Maximum, give them what they deserve. Not a fraction, not a bargain, make the sentence heard. You do the crime, you do the time, male or female, no exceptions, no fine line. The victim got a life sentence the day it began. Give them what they deserve. Maximum. A judge can turn down a plea deal, that power's in your hands. Don't let a predator negotiate the terms of what they've done. The parole board is not your answer. Don't pass this down the line. You have the bench, you have the power. Give them every year, every dime. You have the power, use it, you have the gavel. Swing it, don't hand this off to parole boards when justice is yours to give. Maximum, give them what they deserve. Not a fraction, not a bargain, make the sentence heard. You do the crime, you do the time, male or female, no exceptions, no fine line. The victim got a life sentence the day it began. Give them what they deserve. Maximum. We didn't get a deal, we didn't get a number. We got a life we carry every single day we wake up under. We got the nightmares, we got the silence, we got the years that never end. We got no parole from this. So stand up in that courtroom, say our name out loud. Tell that judge what happened, tell them what we're owed. We are not a footnote, we are not a plea, we are the life sentence. Give them what we've got. Maximum. Maximum. Oh, maximum. Give